It's time for the Sandbox news. This week we have the new Devblog for June. There are a ton of new updates this week, including fixed foliage. There's a new special Operatives helmet. We finally have Soundscapes. There are new add-on and game templates similar to what Unity has. There's a new glow shader, a ton of editor updates, and I've updated my NPC zombie game. This is so exciting, this is insane. Let's start with the new June S&box Devblog. Now, I actually have not looked at this yet, so this is going to be a surprise for me. The first thing we see is curves. So this is a generic curves editor, and it looks like it's really easy to use. Inside of your code, all you have to do is do curve.evaluate and insert a time parameter, and it will give you the height of that specific time value on the curve. So that'll be very useful for things like weapon spray patterns and smooth animations and anything else that could use a curve, really. As we've seen, performance in VR has been improved. There's multi-view instancing, occlusion hidden areas. So a lot of VR headsets have a hidden part of the display, which is never actually seen by the user. So that part is now occluded and it doesn't actually render anything, saving on performance. There are new updates to Hammer Editor and the hotkeys. Inside of the selection tool, you can now see a big list of some of the common hotkeys. And there are a couple new commands for aligning objects to each other. There are a lot of rendering optimizations. Now, I don't think these are in the game yet. However, it looks like apparently it can improve frame rates by up to 40 to 50 FPS. So that's a huge increase. Currently, Sandbox is pretty laggy, so that'll help out a ton. We can see particles can now refract the world. So I thought this was already a feature, but it looks like it didn't work properly. But now that's been fixed. There's the new Steam VR audio systems, and it bakes on your GPU. So now instead of taking 30 minutes to compile, Steam Audio only takes a couple seconds. There's been improvements to the post-processing editor. There's the new structured transforms and cloth. So I assume this is the shader updates. It gives better stability and makes shaders easier to write and maintain. This is a brand new one. So now in the developer console, you can click here to sort and only see warnings or errors in your code. So that'll be very useful for debugging when you have a bunch of clutter in your developer console. There's new construction props, which we've seen around Construct. There's a ton of new clothing and hair, including the tactical helmet, which we'll take a look at soon. There's been a ton of updates to the player animations. So now I assume they'll be more smooth and easier to edit and work with. There are new add-on templates, which we'll take a look at soon. There's also new Soundscapes, which we'll also take a look at in-game. And finally, there's new hot compiling outside of the game. So previously, if you wanted to compile your code for your game, for example, to update a Hammer entity, you had to have the game actually loaded in Sandbox. Now all the entities will compile and update as long as Sandbox is open. So that'll make editing Hammer entities more convenient. Here's the summary of the devblog. We're trying to get a place of stability right now. Render performance isn't that acceptable right now. Yeah, it's awful. Especially considering the tiny amount of things we've got rendering. We're getting weird rendering bugs all the time. Whoa! Oh, I've experienced this. Yeah, sometimes the shadows, they just go like low quality, and it looks so weird. They don't seem to get fixed, and when they do get fixed, it introduces 3 more. So they're trying to slow down and actually fix the bugs. So that's great. Sandbox is totally full of bugs, and their frame rate is really low. This stuff is inherent to what we're doing. We're renovating an old house by taking down every wall and ripping down the ceilings. Yet you can't really call Sandbox Source 2 at this point. It's completely different. Almost everything has been completely reworked or is going to get reworked soon. So they've done a good job sweeping the floor, and hopefully we'll see more performance updates soon. Now let's take a look in-game. Now it doesn't look like Construct has been updated. However, the foliage is finally fixed. Trees and leaves have been broken for, I think, almost a month now, but it's finally been fixed. So we can now look at trees and see them. Also, I think the frame rate has been improved by this forest area with all the trees. Now, it's kind of hard to tell because Sandbox is just really laggy in general right now. If I come over here, away from the trees, my frame rate doesn't increase that much. So it looks like it's working. Oh, cool, it looks like it's fully fixed now. I actually don't know why my frame rate is so low in here. That's kind of weird. But the other day, in every map except for Construct for some reason, the trees would be pink and black, like a Gary's Mod missing texture. But it looks like that's been fixed now. Although the frame rate on this map is really low, lower than it was the other day. So maybe there were some other rendering changes that made performance worse. There's a new clothing piece, the Special Operatives helmet. Now, as you can see, this is a helmet for the Special Operatives. Special Operatives engage. Now I just have to code a feature that gives you night vision and cool Special Operative sound effects. Just like the Special Operatives goggles in this game I made.
Special Operatives engage.
There are new Soundscape entities. So previously, all maps were completely silent. There were no ambient... What's going on here? Oh, this is the new glow shader. So previously, if you were walking around levels, they would just be completely silent. There was no good way to make ambient sounds in your world. There was a bit of a hack that you could do, but I think it's actually broken and it hasn't worked properly for a while. Now, this was just added, so I don't think any maps really have it. There are no built-in soundscapes yet, but from what I've seen, I think this map Crossfire has some. And actually, this map is completely silent. No, it's not silent. I turned the volume up all the way, so now, why does it that's so weird, it fades in and out, it doesn't seem to work properly. Huh. Maybe the soundscape for this map just isn't set up properly, but let's see what happens if I go inside. So, we have an indoor... That is not very good. Weird. The transition is so quick, and it doesn't, transition properly. This is all still a work in progress, so we'll see it get updated in the future. But this is a good start for now, I think. From what I've heard, the creation of soundscapes is pretty nice. So I made an empty soundscape asset for a generic cave sound, and it looks like we can set looping sounds and sting sounds. Now, I originally thought this was a spelling mistake. I thought it was supposed to say string sounds, but this is a sting sound because it happens occasionally. So it looks like for looping sounds, we can set a sound file. This sound will repeat infinitely, and we could set either a fixed or a between volume setting. Now, I assume that would randomly go between two numbers. However, I don't see where I input the numbers, so maybe this is still a work in progress. Oh, it looks like I actually had to expand this inspector window to be able to see and input these between values. That's kind of weird that the number box gets completely hidden when the window is too small. I didn't even know that you could input numbers here. There's also a new debug overlay system. So here I can turn on different overlays. Currently there's just no overlay and soundscape overlay. So this shows me all the different sounds that are playing, and it looks like all the different soundscape entities. So in the top left, we can see we're inside of the Crossfire outside soundscape, and there's a repeating Forest Day loop sound, and an occasional crow and seagull that we'll hear in the background. If I stand here on the stairs, there's actually no soundscape playing, it's just completely silent. And if I go up a little, we can hear I'm in the inside environment with a looping fluorescent hum, cave loop, and electric loop. If I go outside, it goes back to the outdoor soundscape. That's weird, it keeps turning off. Is that because I'm in third person? No. So what I've heard, the implementation in maps for soundscapes is actually really bad. It's so bad to the point that I'm actually not even going to look at soundscapes for my maps until it gets updated. I don't think it's worth, because it's just so early. As we can hear, it randomly fades out and fades back in. That's so strange. This is all work in progress, so I assume in a couple weeks this will all be updated and working properly. I'm here on Office to show off the glow shaders, but it sounds like Office has also gotten some soundscapes. They're really loud in some spots. Actually, I don't know if they're soundscapes or not. They might just be point sound effects for the lights, which point sounds have been kind of really buggy. And yeah, turning on the soundscapes overlay shows us that there's actually no soundscapes here. So maybe there were always these ambient sounds on the lights, but they were just now working because the bug with them was probably fixed. Oh, we can also see, it looks like the trees actually aren't fully fixed yet. So we saw the trees were working on Haunted Forest, but they weren't working there yesterday. And it looks like I don't actually have a clue what's going on with the trees. So it looks like some of these trees still look like they have missing textures, but some of them don't. I thought it was an issue with dynamic lights, and it looks like it still is an issue with dynamic lights because it turns into a missing texture when I shine my flashlight on it. However, I wasn't doing that on Haunted Forest or on Construct. Sandbox crashed a couple times during recording, as usual, so maybe restarting Sandbox caused this error to appear again? I'm really not sure. Sandbox is currently filled with a lot of these weird anomalies, and it's always a mystery when they'll happen, but that's kind of to be expected when the game is this early along in development. Anyways, I'm here to show off the new glow shaders. So there's a new glow outline shader. However, it's kind of like not good. Kind of really bad. The other one was also really bad. But with this new one, all the old bugs were fixed, but there's a ton of new bugs that have been introduced. So I think it's like a weird screen space effect where the further away an object is, the larger the glow will appear, up to a certain point where the glow just completely turns off. It stops rendering, even though the glow is supposed to be rendering at that distance. So no idea what's going on there. Another really weird thing is the glow stops rendering if an object is touching a surface. So if it's against a wall or if the object's on the floor, you won't see a glow on the bottom part of the object. It's so weird. Anyways, this is still a work in progress, so I'm sure in the future we'll see this improved. There are new add-on templates. So if I go to create a new add-on, we can see there are different game templates. Now it looks like currently there's only one template, minimal. If I go to maps, we can see there's a minimal map template, a minimal tool template, and it looks like there are no templates for content. I don't know what you would even put inside of a content template. In the Devblog, we can see what it looks like with multiple templates installed. So here's the minimal template, and there's a basic shooter template being worked on. Now there will be more templates in the future, probably including a racing game template, a third-person game template, a VR template, and more. And if there isn't a template for something that you want, you can always make your own template or download one from the internet. I'm probably going to release a few free templates myself, so if you have any ideas for templates, let me know. I updated my NPC zombie game a ton. So now there's a wave survival game mode that works on almost any map that has a nav mesh. So when the wave starts, it plays this epic sound effect, and then the zombies start running towards you, and you have to shoot all the zombies and defeat them. Once you've defeated the required amount of zombies, all the others will explode, and you'll get a little intermission time where you can relax and find the loot box, which contains special loot. So it looks like I got a really bad loot box this time. I only got trip mines, which I'm not even sure if they'll be in the final version of the game. However, it gives you random weapons and usually health kits as well. So this is one of the maps I'm making specifically for zombie wave survival. As you can see, it's set on a farm. Still a very early work in progress. This works on any map that has a nav mesh, so Office is a really good map for this. It's mostly a lot of really tight indoor spaces, so it can be pretty tough. There are a couple limitations though if you're not using a map with a custom nav mesh. So for example, zombies won't be able to climb out windows or climb up objects like this dumpster, and sometimes they'll get stuck in weird spaces. They won't be able to jump off ledges if the map doesn't have a proper custom nav mesh. Oh, Sandbox crashed. Well, that's it. That's all the Sandbox news. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you to my Patreon supporters.
Special Operatives, engage.